Hi guys, it's me Jenna from the White Witch Parlor and welcome back. Today I want to talk about 5 tips to help you survive the Mercury retrograde because it is coming up and it does happen about 3 times a year, and during this time Mercury is appearing to be going backwards, and since Mercury is so closely in correspondence with things like communication and transportation and planning and all these things, it can start to make all these things in our lives actually start going backwards or appear to be becoming chaotic. So it's really important to keep yourself steady, grounded, and centered during this time so that amongst all the confusion, you can keep moving along in a straight path and not just give up on everything, throw in the towel and say, never mind, I don't want to do this anymore. It's important to keep yourself centered and focused so that you can move on your sacred journey in peace, love, and light. Because so much of the truth is in the stars, it is also within us. So when something is happening cosmically in the sky, it is affecting us because we are part of it. We are made of stardust. During this time, we can have a major communication breakdown, and it's really good for us to really dig deep for our sense of self-awareness so that we can hold true to what we really are aiming for. Since we are so connected to nature, we are bound to feel these major energy shifts happening all around us in the world. But instead of trying to fight nature, we should learn how to embrace it and work with it. So during the Mercury retrograde, you want to help yourself by incorporating things like crystals, herbs, oils, because these are things that can really help you feel at one again and at peace. Don't let the Mercury retrograde take you on a wild ride. Focus and stay stable. Mercury is closely corresponded to Virgos and Geminis, and during this time it can really benefit these individuals because they can really prosper and work with this because this is their time and they know how to own it. This is a planet of the mind, and during this Mercury retrograde we really have to adapt with learning to understand our intellect and our wisdom and grow from it. It's a time to inspire our free thinking and materialize everything we are wanting and desiring through our thoughts. As a planet of the mind, it does remind us of the importance of movement, which I've done another video on because movement keeps us going, keeps things coming into our lives, and keeps doors opening for us. Now, when Mercury is in retrograde, we can seem to lose all these things. So all these visualizations can seem like if they're coming to a hold or a pause. And the best thing for you to do is keep forward on your motions. Remember the importance of movement. Keep moving forward, and also take the time to reflect. Instead of getting upset or overwhelmed by things, stop, take a moment to breathe and reflect. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce 5 simple tips that you can do every day during the Mercury retrograde to help you survive it, because it's not the end of the world and you will get through it. So tip number 1 is wake up and go to bed 1 hour earlier. During the Mercury retrograde, it's really easy to lose track of time. Everything seems to be moving too fast and you never seem to have enough time for anything, and there's never enough hours in a day. So plan accordingly and wake up an hour earlier and maybe go to bed an hour earlier. This extra hour in the morning will help you with any of your lag time if you've misplaced things, if you've forgotten where something is, if your alarm's acting out funny. You will have this extra hour to help you manage your day in a really easy, non-complicated way. Having this extra hour in the morning can really help with your transportation as well, because during this time your drive to work might become really chaotic. So it's a really good idea to have that extra hour, that extra 30 minutes or so to get to work on time. Tip number 2 is plan. I can't stress this enough. You might make the best plans in the world for this picnic or a party, but everything can fall out right during the Mercury retrograde. So you want to make sure you overplan during this time or leave room for error, because if you don't, you might find yourself in a really bad situation. During this time, if you're traveling at all, you have to remember that technology can really start to fail, as communication and technology often do during the Mercury retrograde. So instead of relying on your technology, make simple adjustments like carrying a notepad and writing everything down. There can be a lot of overbearing chitter chatter going on in your mind, and all your plans can get lost in all your thoughts. So it's really good if you carry something like a pen and a paper, maybe even an extra pen, and write down your thoughts. Make a list of your things to do for the day, and make sure that everything's in order and non-complicated. You want to be as simplified as possible. Because you've given yourself that extra hour in the morning, you're already ahead of the game. Tip number 3 is wait a few more weeks to make that big commitment. So if you're trying to move, signing a new contract, getting a new job, getting a new lease on a car, or even signing that contract for marriage, maybe wait until the retrograde's over. A lot of things could be stirred up emotionally and physically during this time, and if you take a step back and just wait for all this dust to settle, your contracts, your thoughts, everything that happens during this time might not plan out as you thought. So if you take the time and wait until the Mercury retrograde is over, you might find that you're thinking a lot more clearly, and you can really ask yourself then, do I really want to do this? Is this a real commitment that I'm willing to make at this time in my life? Embrace the power of crystals, herbs, and oils, because these things all come from nature, and they can really help us during this time, because it can be chaotic and our heads and minds can be floating at this time. It's really good to pull in anything that can help ground you. Whether you choose to use herbal teas or meditate with crystals or just bathe in some essential oils, you can use things like frankincense and mint because they really raise your vibrations, they bring clarity, and they also help with your spiritual growth. So maybe if you focus on your spiritual growth, you can actually pull in better and tune in better to your shadow work so that you can really own in on what it is you're wanting to create out of your life. If you want some good grounding stones, try looking into hematite, garnet, onyx, black obsidian, smoky quartz. I know I say these stones a lot, but they are really good for transmuting any negative energy, grounding your energy, and really helping you to center yourself and focus on what is important into your soul. Tip number 5, and the last tip, is to reward yourself. Make sure you're making time to take that salt bath. Make sure you're making time to give yourself a small meditation, because if you're falling in this trap of everything's moving so quickly and you're falling off that train, you need to keep yourself grounded, stabilized, and cleansed of energy and be at the most purest part of your soul. So to do that, salt baths I really recommend. You just bathe for 20 minutes. You let the salt pull all the toxins from your body. It helps relax you mentally and physically. It is so good for the body and soul. You can also indulge in self-expression. If there's some hobby you've always wanted to pick up, maybe you can start looking into it now, so right when the retrograde's over you can jump into that. Start reading books that make you feel good about yourself. Start spending time with people who make you laugh and make you happy and fill your heart with joy. Remember, do not overwork yourself at this time. If you do, you're gonna fall short every single time. You're not gonna have the energy or the emotional strength to do it. So make sure you are giving yourself enough time in a day to get stuff done, and don't overlist yourself. Take the list down, knock a couple things off the list, and just keep things to a minimum and simplify things as much as possible. And this is not something that you should just focus on doing during the Mercury retrograde, but something you should also definitely try to incorporate into your everyday life. So stay happy, peaceful, get lots of rest, plan your days accordingly, and don't overplan too much of your to-do list. So I hope this video helps a little bit. The retrograde usually happens for a couple of weeks at a time, like I said, about 3 times a year. So during this time, stay grounded, stay centered, and focus on your soul's growth. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for coming back to watch another video. I wish you nothing but the brightest love and light in your life. Mwah. Bye guys.